finish talking about college football, and I want to get back to a conversation we had last week with the NHL. We kind of had a little preview going into the Stanley Cup qualifiers. I was dead wrong with some of my predictions. If you remember, Dave, I predicted the Rangers beating Carolina in 5 games, and not only did that not happen, the Rangers got swept, and we're not even competitive in those 3 games.
No, they were not.
So I was wrong about that, and the other one I was wrong about. I mean, I'm not wrong yet, but I said that the Canadians were not going to win the Stanley Cup.
That they weren't.
That they were not going to win the Stanley Cup, which they haven't. But I was pretty shocked when they actually defeated Pittsburgh in 4 games in that series. And then even the Blackhawks, the other 12 seed, beat Chicago.
Chicago, I know. I was watching that.
So there was definitely some interesting series for qualifying round. You definitely got some lower seeds in there. Now you get to the official Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yep.
16 teams. They actually reseeded, so the 12 seeds now an 8 seed again. But I'm still gonna watch, even though I'm a Rangers fan. I'm obviously gonna watch. I've watched outside the Rangers series. There's 3 miserable games. There was plenty of other games to watch, and there were definitely some entertaining ones. That Columbus-Toronto series was very interesting. There were some 3-0 leads blown in that series. But I'll kind of read them down here, and I'll start in the Eastern Conference. And you mentioned the Flyers last week as a Stanley Cup favorite, and you look pretty good right now because I watched them in that round robin, and they played Tampa Bay, Boston, Washington. They looked really good. They looked really sharp. They got the #1 seed pretty handily, and they get to play Montreal.
Right.
So
that'll be a good series, huh?
Yeah. So I mean, this time I'll definitely say Philadelphia should have this.
I think they should.
But Montreal. I mean, I don't know. They could be that Cinderella in the NHL playoffs.
But they could be the dark horse if they get by Philly.
And I will say this because you remember last year, Dave, and this goes to the next one, the 2-7 matchup, which is the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Columbus Blue Jackets. And you remember last year, Tampa Bay was #1 overall.
Right.
Columbus was an 8 seed.
Yep.
And Columbus actually swept Tampa Bay in 4 games last year. And it was probably one of the more shocking series in a long time.
Right.
And so with that in mind, I don't want to say the Flyers have in the bag, but if there's anything that the qualifiers taught me, it's that with the COVID situation, and I don't want to accuse players of not caring or not being passionate.
Sure, of course.
But when you factor in the layoff, and you factor in team chemistry, and you factor in the COVID, and where people are thinking about in terms of the season next year, whenever that's going to start, are there certain teams that just are not bringing that playoff intensity? And if that's the case, who would it be? I don't think
the
it's
Rangers.
Yeah, the Rangers. And I hate to say that, big Rangers fan, but I do question.
Too.
I do really question. I know they're a rebuilding team; they're young, but I was questioning kind of where their mentality was. If they were really bringing the 100%. Granted, Carolina, very good team.
Yeah, they were. I didn't take them seriously.
They were in the conference finals last year. They actually had the Bruins in the 4-5 matchup. So actually, that could be very interesting because as I mentioned last week, Dave, I thought Boston was before COVID was the clear favorite for the Stanley Cup, and some people will say, well, it's kind of like a preseason, so they're kind of tweaking, they're kind of playing around. But if you went off any eyeball test and you took anything from the qualifiers in the round robin, Boston did not look very sharp.
That's cool. Well, I think they had their moments. I just don't think that they showed what they're capable of, and that's what I think hurts them in terms of why I think they're seated perfectly.
Yeah.
In terms, they're 4, and I just don't think they had the grit Philly had.
Yeah.
I don't think they have the roster Tampa has, and I don't think I think the Capitals executed when they had to, and Boston was that kind of. They're good.
Yeah.
They have they're a good team.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I don't know. I just don't know if they have the. I don't know.
Well, I'll say this, Dave. The thing about seeding is that
seeding is very weird.
What I meant to say was that in any other year, seeding is relevant because you're talking about home ice advantage
with fans.
Because of that, when you have all these teams playing the same rink, and it's basically a neutral site. The seeding in this case only matters in terms of matchups. Like in the first 2 rounds, the seeding will matter.
Yep.
When you get to the conference finals, the seeding is the seeding doesn't mean a thing because home ice advantage is out the window.
Yeah.
So I'll give Boston the benefit of the doubt in this case that if it's really just for them about preseason kind of getting into the mojo a little bit, and they felt they would rather play, if they didn't see any meaning behind whether they were a 1 seed or a 4 seed, then fine. If they want to play Carolina in the first round, so be it. Now that's going to be an Eastern Conference Finals rematch from last year. So you get a couple of rematches from last year that are interesting, and we'll see how that plays out. So yeah, Boston, Carolina, Tampa, Columbus. Those are some rematches we'll have to keep an eye on. And like I said, that Philly Montreal series, I expect Philadelphia to win, but I expected the Rangers to win last week, and I was proven wrong. So
I did too.
Don't think it's a clean sweep for Philadelphia.
Right, that's very true.
I think maybe a 6 or 7 game series, but I do think Philadelphia could win that one. So,
and for all my friends who are Bruins fans, because I have a ton of them, including my brother.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Being in New England / tri-state area, it's we're surrounded by a lot of Bruins fans, both in our families and friend groups. But I don't know. Boston teams in the past, I've been able to be like, oh, they're like you said earlier, before kind of the round robins are happening, everything. Like we're like, okay, this team is gonna.
It's good, yeah, and they should be good. And like I said, if Boston comes in this Carolina series and just dominates and easily advances on, we can go back to that original thesis a little bit.
Sure.
March that Boston
I think so too.
Beat as a 4 seed.
Right. I don't want to knock them, man. They're a good team. I just don't. I just don't know the way the Hurricanes dismantled the Rangers. I don't want to just say it's going to be an easy series for Boston. That's all I was trying to say. But yeah.
And I think Carolina last year losing to Boston, they'll definitely feel the need to kind of come out
and play
100%, and see if they can catch Boston sleeping a little bit.
Right.
So that's another series. I think we'll go 7 games. I'll give Boston the edge right now, just based on my original thesis on that. But I will not be surprised if Carolina somehow knocks them off.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then of course we forget about Washington, New York Islanders. We try to forget the Islanders because we're Ranger fans, but the Capitals, Islanders. Barry Trotz against his former team. To keep that in mind. So that will be interesting to see how that series plays. So I would say you got 4 noteworthy matchups in the Eastern Conference that you can look at and there's some key storylines to go with it.
Yeah, for sure.
But I guess if I were to go down the line, I'd say, I would give Philly the edge. I give Tampa the edge. I would probably actually give the Islanders the edge, believe it or not. That'd be my upset, I guess, in the first round. And I'll give Boston the edge. So that's kind of my lay down the Eastern Conference.
I'd agree with you on the Eastern side.
Yeah. And then the Western Conference, we don't want to forget about the Western Conference. A lot of juggernauts there.
A couple teams that I like.
Edmonton was probably a shocker too. Not that Edmonton's been a powerhouse many years, but this year they had a really good year with Connor McDavid and Nugent Hopkins, and they kind of just laid an egg in that qualifier against Chicago. But it's Chicago. Chicago's a 12 seed this year. They weren't doing anything. But you give them life,
right? And
Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews were gonna make it happen.
Yep.
And Corey Crawford, by the way, looked fantastic in goal in that elimination game.
Right.
I watched that game, and so Chicago as an 8 seed to me is way more dangerous than Montreal as an 8 seed. Because this is a team with 3 Stanley Cups in the last decade.
I know.
And so if there's any team that can rekindle their playoff energy, it's that team with still a lot of those key components. And not to knock off Vegas, because Vegas is obviously a very good team, and again they played well, but. To see Corey Crawford play the way he did in this qualifying series, that's how you steal series in the NHL playoffs.
Yeah.
It's great goaltending.
It's funny you bring that up.
Yeah.
Because again, and I'm a little bitter still, but we saw it in the Carolina-New York series.
Yeah, yeah. There was a goaltending situation right there, Lundqvist versus.
No, but I'm even just talking about the play of who's the tendy for Carolina.
Well, we should know this, shouldn't we? Talking about sports, but Carolina Hurricanes.
Jeez.
I know it's not a household name, Dave. And that's why we kind of but there was Reimer, James Reimer.
And he played all 3.
I know. Actually Mrazek was the starter, but Reimer clinched the 3rd game.
Dude, we made them look like
like a Vezina trophy winner. That's what they do.
Dude, we had open chances after open chances.
Yep,
They were just they made the saves, man. That's
They
why
did.
hats off to the Carolina, man. They played well.
But I'm gonna go on a limb, Dave, and I'm gonna say Chicago wins that series.
Me too, actually. I agree with you.
And you can be completely wrong. You know, Vegas is a really good team, but
They are.
But I'm gonna the bold prediction that Chicago wins against Vegas in 6 games.
6 games.
6 games.
Colorado, Arizona.
Arizona. You know, that's just been a franchise that
No, I have Colorado all the way.
I would go Colorado, but
They've been playing great.
You know, Arizona's had a couple of times in their franchise where they've come so close to really building a good team, but yeah, Colorado with McKinnon, you can't sleep on that. I think Colorado win that series pretty handily.
I do too. I also think Dallas takes Calgary.
Yeah, Dallas, Calgary. Yeah, like I said, I think Chicago's the only real upset in the Western Conference. I do expect the St. Louis Blues, who again, go back to the whole Boston thing and the qualifier. The St. Louis did not look incredibly sharp either. I mean, they lost that game against Colorado with 0.1 seconds remaining. I don't know if you remember that. But after that, they kind of looked pretty flat against Dallas and Vegas. But I do expect St. Louis to kind of pick it up a little bit. I think they'll have an easier time with Vancouver than Boston, North Carolina. So I do expect St. Louis to probably win 7 games in that one too.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll find out. I'll look at the schedule. I think next time we broadcast, the first round will still be going on. But we'll keep an eye on it and see what comes out.